Linda Schott, a Turd Nerd graduate, sat down to chat about her experiences at the Schmidt Lab and where she is now.
I was Amy's first PhD student. I graduated in the fall of 2018. I was on an extension assistantship, which was pretty cool. So I got to work with the folks in extension and integrate a little bit. But I worked on the first iteration of the woody biomass with manure project. So I had a site in Valentine and a site near Ainsworth that we put out some plots and worked on those for 3 years, and then also did a column study and then a little bit of a survey as well. And then right after I graduated, I got a job as an assistant professor, extension specialist right out of my PhD. I'm now based in Idaho at an extension and research center.
What drew Iowa-bred Linda to the Schmidt Lab in Nebraska was not the manure. She worked on drainage water quality at Iowa State, where she completed her master's and bachelor's.
I met Amy at ASABE when I was kind of looking for positions, and she told me about the extension assistantship, and I just really liked Amy, I guess, the way that she thought about manure. I felt like she was going to help me with my own career goals, so I decided to do manure work and actually ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I would. And I mean, now it's my job. So it was pretty great. It was more about her and the opportunity rather than the project itself, although my project was awesome.
Linda had some wild experiences during her PhD project with the Schmidt Lab. One memorable day involved harvesting pinto beans.
I had to go up and harvest those pinto beans, and I didn't know what a pinto bean was. I mean, I've eaten pinto beans, but I'm from Iowa, so we have soybeans that stand up that it's really easy to harvest. And Amy asked me if I wanted someone to go with me, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna run up to Valentine, I'm gonna harvest, and then I'm gonna come back because I've got class. So I left really early in the morning, got up there, and then I realized that pinto beans are vines. And I had these little tiny lunch sacks. I didn't have the big grocery sacks that I needed. And I also rented a car, which ended up not being big enough. So I spent 6 hours there. I think I was gone for 20 hours. Put everything, it was in the trunk, in the back seat. It was all in the passenger side. I could not fit another person in there if I wanted to. And then when I got back, I had to transfer everything to my personal car because I had to return this rental car. And my car was just filled with bugs and moisture from where, the beans had breathed. So it was a good time. Now I know what a pinto bean is.
Linda discussed some of her current work as an extensionist in Idaho.
So I'm in southern Idaho. Idaho is actually the #3 dairy state. So there's a lot of manure. We're also one of the top barley, wheat, potato, sugar beets, dry beans. We also have a lot of corn silage and alfalfa to feed the cows. I work a lot in just cropping systems, so manure and nutrient management plus water quality, kind of the systems approach. When I started at Idaho, producers were feeling very behind in the soil health movement. So I have one project that is a survey project. The conservation districts put up money to pay for soil testing, and my group just goes out and collects the samples, and we train some NRCS people to help take samples. And it's just across the board. We didn't try and target any specific practices, so it's not like anything's replicated, but just to see how things change over 5 years. So that's an extension project, but we can do a couple of bulletins like, here's the range of values that we're getting for these tests, and here's some education of how to interpret the tests too. And then I also have, a research project. I've got several that are grant funded, kind of spinning off of that. I worked with the Sugar Cooperative because they soil sample all of their fields every year. And they were able to collect about 300 soil samples across, their whole industry of fields. And we did active carbon testing in the lab to not only, benchmark it for southern Idaho, but also there's a handheld instrument calorimeter that you can use that a field man could go out and have a conversation with a producer, run the test. It's not quite as accurate as the lab test, but it's pretty accurate.
Linda shared some words of wisdom for current students.
Think about what's really important to you and what gives you joy, and try to align a career. You may not get everything that you want, but there's some non-negotiables and some things that give you joy. So just try to align